Hello everyone, this is Redact and this game is called Suzerain. Last episode, had to catch up on a lot of newspaper stuff and whatever. I can't really remember, it was only a few minutes ago, but I have forgotten already. So let's see. Oh, we spent some money on a new development thing to sort of bribe the Bluish people to stop harassing me so I can spend more money elsewhere. Consolidating my power. It's necessary. Right, we're back. We still need to save some money. Constitutional Republic of Sordland, right. Okay, well. I don't think there's anything else we need to worry about. They're doing whatever it is that they're doing. We are protecting ourselves. Yeah, we've got this whole entire border we need to look after against these scumbag kingdom of Rumburg. But let's carry on. Let's have this meeting about whatever. Earlier in the day, I learned that Friend Richter's complaint had been accepted by the Supreme Court for review. Also been hearing countless reports about our emergency forces becoming reluctant to enforce the rules of the emergency. I was called by Chief Justice Hawker's office to demand an explanation, but he wasn't in. Oh, well, of course he wasn't. He was on a train or something. Sat by the phone waiting for him to call me back. I waited and waited. Suddenly I heard a knock on the door. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. President, but Justice Garrissey is here to see you. Alright, so they're going to try and strong arm me into doing something in order to maintain the emergency decree, and if I don't do that, I'm going to be held on treason or something like that, isn't it? I'm waiting for also Hawker, not Heron. Yes. He told me he's here to talk to you about the Emergency Act. He said he couldn't speak on the phone. Send him in. She opened the door, and he came in. So he is one of the justices. Okay. Hello, Mr. President. Sorry to come unannounced, but I'm sure you expected us. Sorry if I disappointed you, but the Chief Justice is very busy. You're right, I am disappointed. It's busy. I'm a busy man too. You're right, I am disappointed. Life is full of disappointments, Mr. President. You already know that Friends Richter has filed a complaint about your Emergency Act being unconstitutional. The judges couldn't ignore his arguments. As we promised, the court is doing its best to help you out. Even though the arguments filed by Richter are noteworthy and do give the right to redeem your actions as unconstitutional. He smiled. I hope you're really doing your best. We had an agreement. Of course you are, Mr. President. Rest assured, everything's going to work out. The Order are happy with the Emergency Act, and Mr. Hawke is currently working on a legal argument against Mr. Richter's case. As you know, the Constitution states, no state shall modify or suspend the rights of freedom defined in Article 100 of the Constitution unless actually invaded or in such immediate danger as will not allow for delay. That's, well, that was your argument to me. And, well, personally I believe Sordland is more than enough imminent danger to justify the emergency. Yes, it is in more than enough imminent danger. But we must work within the boundaries defined by our Constitution, I'm sure you understand. I'll be honest with you, there are a few justices who are taking Mr. Richter's side on this. They do believe you're acting unconstitutionally and must be held accountable. That said, they might be persuaded to rule in your favour if certain other judicial concerns were addressed. What concerns? We're worried about the oligarchs, Marcel Conranti and Malta Tusk. They're in close cooperation with Arcasia and have ties to almost every other country on this continent, and as we know, they only care about money. Very clear they're trying to profit from the violence in Sordland and abroad. Reasons believe they are supporting the militant organisations we are fighting against. I share the same concerns. Then we're on the same page. In these difficult times, when unity is so sorely needed, they pose a great threat to all Sordland. They already control much of our economy. They can't be allowed to have that much power. Something must be done. Nationalise their assets, for example. Oh, that would be too extreme. Yeah, I think that's a bit too extreme. I'm not asking you to do anything, it's just a friendly suggestion. I hope our alliance stands strong. As I said earlier, there is nothing to worry about. The court will reject Mr. Richter's case, barring any extraordinary circumstances. Well, for now, I must leave. I hope you'll think long and hard about what we just talked about. Extended his hand towards mine. Shake his hand, it's fine. Doesn't cost me anything. Goodbye, Mr. President. Thank you for your time. He went out and closed the door behind him. I leaned back in my chair. I do have the secret police. I wonder if I can get them to direct a look at the justices. I wasn't expecting them to do that. Was my decision to work with the old guard right? I was expecting to be able to use that information they gave me to bring down that opposition leader, but nothing has come of that. Nothing at all. So it's a bit of useless information, because I remember the secret police saying there wasn't really much to it. So even if I was wrong, would I be able to get out of this if I wanted? I'm sure I can. I'm a smart man. Get out of it somehow. Blame it on someone else. That's what vice presidents are for. Award company contracts. Several companies put forward their bids for the new investment project. The SSC, Underhaul Construction and Taurus Holding companies have put forward their bids and hoping they're winning the government contract. Well, we can't do Underhaul for the new and ambitious investment project. Which company should we pick to lead? The Sordland State Corporation. I think they're the ones that are already doing the railway, right? Can I click on that? I'm pretty sure they're the ones doing that. Okay, yeah, let's see who I awarded it to. They wanted me to give the contract to Underhaul. To stop the constitutional was ordered the Sordland State Corporation. So I'm not going to give it to the Sordland State Corporation because they're messing up the railway project. Taurus Holding. Who are Taurus Holding? There's a new entrepreneurial private company that uses cutting-edge construction technology for arcades to reduce construction costs and prices. More open and competitive compared to usual Sordland corporations. They're known for their port expansion in Benfey, which completed in half the budget. Okay, good. Let's use them. I'm sure it's going to be fine. Yeah. Completely unconcerned. Right, so no news. Okay, what's going on here? Let's just... I ordered the contract to Taurus. Yep, because I'm not giving it to what's-his-face. Underhaul. Go feck themselves. Updates in situation and education. Okay, let's see what's going on. After a meeting with the rector and a brief tour of the University of Valgen, we gathered in the room with Ciara. The entire campus was visible from the windows. Students were reading books, studying, and having picnics under the trees. How picturesque. Minding my own times at the whole Sword State University. At least a more carefree moments. Reminiscing about the past. How were your university years? Usual story, a few friends dead, a couple of them missing after the coup. Oh, and I was almost arrested once. Yeah, pretty much the same. We all went through tough times back then. Some of us more so than others. Let's not get sidetracked. I'm going to start off by saying this. Stagnation doesn't want to get anyone anywhere. Simply maintaining it, my ministry's funds got us sitting duck. The dozens of issues left unsolved. Got a sitting duck. I haven't come across that expression before. I've got no budget if you're asking for more money. I'm sorry. State having to rely on privatisation funds is a disgrace. We're letting private interests meddle in the most essential service, learning. New private schools are increasing the disparity of services in education. Lower income households can't afford the private school in their district and might need to send their children to a public school far away. Though I insist that the funds are still necessary to close the gaps in services, I can't say we have been entirely off track. I want to thank you for leading our education system in the right direction. Traditional teachings have long prevented proper progress. You played a large part in this too. She nodded and brought out a stack of papers from her bag. Spitting her ballpoint pen, went through the papers, organising some of them together. Our ministry prepared the necessary framework regarding how to spend the funds we've gained through school privatisation. I've outlined 3 potential options. We can build new rural schools, improve the standards of existing ones, or increase salaries for all education workers. We have the capacity to implement only one of these options. Tell me about the new rural schools. I seem to remember that we had a problem with rural education. This is very critical. It leads many young people to ignorance and illiteracy. Sordland's rural population is full of untapped potential. With enough education, these people could be an asset to our workforce and society. Look at how United Contana is pushing past Arcasian education and research. It's because most of the rural population has access to schools. Why should you increase the salaries of education workers? The job itself should be in high regard and be compensated accordingly. There are people who have chosen to dedicate themselves to the betterment of others, by helping raise the next generation. We ought to give them what they deserve. What does improving rural schools entail? Where to start? At least they need new equipment and materials. Many of these schools are facing shortage of desks and textbooks. The ones that have been updated since before the sole administration. Okay, let me just go back to the top. We can build new rural schools, improve the standards of existing ones. Yeah, I want new schools. Many, yeah, so they haven't. Teachers lack the resources to give Sordland youth a proper education. It's bad if they don't go to school at all. I'm ready to decide. Yes. Put down the pen and looked at me. Build new rural schools. Our primary goal must be to increase access to education. Increase the salaries of teachers, principals and other education staff all around the country. Improve rural education by purchasing new materials and upgrading old school equipment. Build new rural schools. Feels gratifying that you are finally servicing the people directly. Finally! Finally, Redact! I will pass it down to the ministry. That's all there is for now. I have talked with Miss Suno to schedule some time to discuss the curriculum. She's a very astute woman, your secretary. You may want to consider promoting her. We will meet again very soon. Keep up the good work. Doing a great job. So I put the papers back in a bag and left the meeting room. Okay, well, that was rude. Okay, so I ordered new rural schools to be built. Yes, better access, that's good. Welfare. Accessible rural education, good urban institution. Yeah, we'll sort out, we'll go away from the soulless education, I imagine. Many efficient strategies the government has made rural education accessible to most citizens again. Good. Still need to do something about corruption, oppression, and rights. When am I going to be able to improve people's rights? Okay. Don't need to. It's fine. A mega project, Sana Agricultural Zone. President Rain has announced the plans for a brand new agricultural zone in Sana. Per the announcement, Taurus Holding has been awarded with a contract and they will be taking over the daunting task. That will be transforming the city and its neighborhood. On completion, this mega project will provide a much needed production boost not just to Sana but the entire Bergia region. When refugees fleeing to Sordland's border, as the Verlin president continues his operations against Bludish insurgents in his country, a wave of people, Verzek, Sordish and Bludish, have been attempting to flee the conflict and cross the border. According to the report from the Alliance of Nations, the situation inside Verlin is becoming increasingly complex, with many different groups and factions entering and leaving the country. AN report states international reporters are no longer being allowed inside Verlin, and the information from the country has been incredibly difficult to obtain. Also explicitly warns the neighbouring countries of the upcoming refugee crisis. It needs to be seen how the Rain administration will deal with the influx. We're not going to. Sorry. Not my problem. Got my own things to deal with. Right, so they're building that. They're building that. Hopefully, this will all come good. Briefing on the current curriculum in schools. Let's do it. So I had scheduled a short meeting at the Ministry of Education to discuss the current curriculum taught in schools. Ministry building was located in the government district right next to the Ministry of Health. It's a tall, narrow and wedge shape, like a slightly open book. Near the front gate there were many statues of world-renowned scientists and thinkers. The largest, of course, was Artvin Einstavin, The greatest scientist of all time, I wonder. Above the main entrance was the familiar inscription. What? In Sri ten sis Aginikar av Girigna int ala Almergwalteen int Ola Mexis. Education is the premise of progress in all societies, in all families. Really. Inside the building, I was greeted by Ciara's assistants. They led me to a meeting room where she was waiting inside. She stood and gripped my hand. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Ciara. It's good to see you. It's always good to see you. I will cut to the chase. Lack of governmental resources has halted our plans for educational reform, but there's one important change that can still be made. It involves evolution versus creatism. As it currently stands, schools across Sordland can decide whether to include evolution, creatism, or both in their curriculum. Rural schools often decide in favour of creatism only, which puts students at a disadvantage when it comes to entering university. The effect is especially noticeable among young women. My suggestion is to make the teaching of evolution mandatory and preferably ban creatism altogether. I don't agree with creating our children supernatural nonsense like creatism. I don't see a problem with teaching our children both theories. Evolution is the idea that ought to be banned. It's dangerous. Well, I don't think we should ban either one outright. I mean, we shouldn't suppress people's ideas or suppress people's discussions about certain theories. Regardless what one of us might think about creatism or about evolution, we should still, I think the students should still be able to talk about both theories and make their own decision. That's the whole point of the education system. I don't think anything should really be banned, because then people start to think, why is it banned? Why didn't you want to tell me about it? So let's teach both. That would be one way to compromise, yes. But does creatism really help open the minds of our children? Does it really open the minds? I think people should be given should be able to make the choice for themselves. I think we should teach both and let them decide for themselves. The way I see it promotes a blind acceptance of the world as it is, no facts or verification needed. Well, I think they can decide whether it's true or not. People should be encouraged to think critically and ask questions. Exactly. Well, yeah, okay. Creatism and other religious teachings hinder that, but religion helps in other ways. You have a point. Perhaps there is no place for creatism in schools. Regardless, I don't believe schools need to ban entirely. I don't see the harm in letting students decide for themselves. Exactly. What about the so-called evolution theory? Why should children blindly accept that? Well, there's evidence for it, for a start. There must be a place for our religion in schools. How else will children learn moral correct? I'm not sure about that. I don't think stoning people is a good idea. Hardly moral. Alright, yeah. Yeah, let them decide for themselves. Honestly, that's a valid argument. I can live with that. Lucian knocked and entered. Excuse me, some urgent business kept me away. Welcome. Mr. President. Who's this guy again? Chief strategist, yeah. Okay. We were just discussing the curriculum, so I made some excellent points. Very well, let's hear them. Continuing from my previous point, it's my conviction that we should require the mandatory teaching of evolution in sort of the public schools and cut creatism completely out. If we want children from rural areas to have the same opportunities as their urban counterparts, this is the way. Owning student minds, reducing the role of religion in schools also leads to more equality between young women and men. Not sure about that, but okay. Don't bring your pet cause into this, Miss Welder. You failed your reforms and now you would remove belief from schools. Advancing human rights is more than just a pet cause. Both you gentlemen know that. Also, we know why the education reforms failed, didn't we? Sierra looked at me. Say nothing. Education budget didn't make the cut. Nothing can be done about it. Yes, and I am disappointed. I expected more from you. Say nothing. I already explained. Going back to the topic. Although I myself believe in evolution, we must be careful not to alienate a rural conservative voter base. We're a lot to their support. Forcing their school districts to teach evolution could irreparably damage our standing with them. Yet every modern nation is reducing or removing creatism in their curriculum. Yet we are supposed to allow schools to promote fundamental and yes, sexist ideas from 1,000 years back. So is that what we're doing now? Copying what other nations are doing instead of paving our own way? If it works, why not? Look at the analysis. It's clear that the superpowers are doing something right. Should we reinvent the world, Mr. Glade? You speak as if we don't import any influences from other countries. It's not what I said. Their voice started to get louder and louder. I held out my hands for silence. We can still allow creatism to be taught alongside evolution. So yeah, you could live with that. Evolution is the way forward. Creatism has no place in our public school curriculum. Yeah, we'll do both. Let the students decide for themselves. We shouldn't impose anything on them. Let their minds be free. Yes, although I don't like it, I still believe schools are no place for religion. Yeah, that's fine, but that's your opinion. Other people have different opinions. Let them decide for themselves, please. I don't like it either. You have to prepare to lose a lot of voters. Whatever. See how it looked me in the eye. It's your decision. Don't forget. Future generations of Swordish youth are counting on you. I've already said this is like the third time I've said this. But now creatism shall be banned and only evolution will be taught. I shall make the teaching of evolution mandatory. But schools may promote creatism alongside it if they wish. Restricted current system evolution will not be mandatory. No, it's mandatory. Unfortunate, but it will have a better outcome than banning creatism altogether. I disagree. Rejecting creatism would have been a signal that we are redirecting Sordland to a scientifically and technologically advanced future. In small steps, please. They turned and looked at each other. Lucian lifted his eyebrow and Sierra held his gaze for a couple of seconds. The meeting ended shortly after. Wow. Wow, they were angry, weren't they? Alright, let's see what's going on. Anything going on that I need to know about? Oh, yes. Whelan operations a mixed success. Whelan President Victor is drawing his operations against the Bluish Freedom Front to a close. The consensus is that while Whelan's army went a long way towards neutralising the Bluish threat, there were many preventable casualties. Furthermore, despite Vernon's best efforts, not all hideouts have been eradicated, and anti-Smolak sentiment is at an all-time high among the remaining insurgents. Getting the rail was so delayed. It's been like in the middle there for so long. It's annoying. What's going on here? Economic report. Valgan is suffering the effects of economic recession, with unemployment spiking and many small businesses shuttering. The larger agricultural concerns are expected to announce a wave of layoffs as sales slow. Well, if we would just get the railway sorted out, I think it'd be fine. I'm hoping. Anti-corruption police investigation update. Interesting. Completed preliminary investigations into members of the political opposition. No concrete proof of corruption or other wrongdoing has yet been revealed. Keep going. I need that. Language bill prepared. Running a bill which aims to unify Swordist education by making Swordist the only language accepted in educational institutions while excluding specific foreign language studies. Not sure I want that to happen either. Right. Sordland today. Privatisation, the future of Sordland. Don't let the pro-government elites fool you. The nationalisation of Sordland's big four corporations would be a disaster for our country. Instead, we advocate the privatisation of state-owned enterprises, Eda Mining and Sordland State Corporation. Both companies have grown sluggishly from lack of competition. Even private interests taking a minority stake could lead to a greater innovation and a brighter future. Under pressure to catch up with the education systems of Arcasia and United Contana, President Rain decided to enforce the teaching of evolution in public schools. We can expect to see some pushback against this decision, especially in Sordland's rural areas where creatism has long been the default. President Rain did specify that teaching creatism will still be allowed, but this may not be enough to mollify religious conservatives, and it will only anger left-wingers who are gunning for creatism to be banned. Well, can't have everything. Nationalise the Big Four now. As the debate about privatisation versus nationalisation intensifies in the capital, the whole Sword Post firmly believes that President Rain should come down on the side of nationalism for all of the so-called Big Four companies, including the currently private Heart of Sordland and Bergier Steel. Full nationalisation would prevent price gouging and prevent CEOs like Marcel Conronti from consolidating power. But even the government taking minority ownership of both companies would go a long way towards ensuring they act according to state interests. Yeah, we might do that. Overblown right case appealed. Today, the politically motivated and controversial court case by Inshaval Ersen has made its way to the Supreme Court to be reviewed. The mayor dismissed the presence of systematic racism in the region of Bergier and accusations against law enforcement, citing that the Bluedish are being influenced by the Bluedish Freedom Front, who wishes to radicalise the people for their dark aims. All eyes are now on Chief Justice Hawker and the Supreme Court to determine if the case has legal grounds or not. Many justices have already come forward to dispute the claim that the Constitution is not being upheld by the state of Sordland when it comes to the treatment of the Bluedish people. Gisara raises the Bluedish question. Yesterday, in the Grand National Assembly, NFP leader proposed a law that would make Swordis the only language accepted in educational institutions, boldly standing up for Swordis culture and tradition. This law, the Unified Education Language Act, is squarely aimed at the Bluedish community. No, I think its integration in Swordis society has long posed a problem. Educating children solely in the official language of this country will help cement their Swordis identity and quash the threat of Bluedish independence in Sordland. Yeah, I'm not sure we should be doing it. They tried to do like a religious one, didn't they? I think so. Party leaders. Who's this guy? Right. I don't know why I'm interested in you. I'm not really interested. They tried to do something about... They vetoed something. The workers... No, not the workers' right. There was something about religion. Privately meet, promote. There was something I vetoed. Maybe it wasn't about religion. It was the maybe it was the workers' rights one. I don't think it was. Yeah, the religious harmony. I vetoed that. Yeah. I can't just be completely oppressive to everyone, because everyone's going to be angry with me. So they're probably going to be angry that I don't do it. I know. Celia died preparing for the Day of Dissension, the annual celebration of the founding of Newity. Though religion plays a smaller role in Swordlish daily life than in years past, the day still holds special importance for many Newists. Newists or what? The only credit is the Divine God, and the Saint Part, and that Saint Dast is the Divine Messenger. Okay, right, it's fine. So it's Christianity then, or some denomination. The cathedral in which it is located is currently undergoing renovations that have been cleaned in time for the festivities. I'll be making an appearance, will I? Talking about how religious I am. Bain's curriculum compromise forces schools to evolve slightly. President Rain, perhaps swayed by the valid arguments of Education Minister Ciara Wilder, made the decision to make evolution a mandatory part of the public school curriculum. This switch is a huge step forward for Sordland's rural youth, who have long been an educated disadvantage compared to their urban counterparts. However, in a concession to backwards thinking conservatives, schools will still be allowed to teach it alongside evolution. We only hope students choose to listen to science and ignore the religious propaganda. Who's to say which is right? That's what they have to argue about. That's the whole point of going to school. Welfare? What happened? Oh. Evolutionary education with creatism. Okay. Voluntary vaccination. We might need to change that. Oppression, unfair electoral funding, limited human rights. I need to sort that out still. Corruption, I need to sort that out. And then I think we'll be okay. I did ask them to go after that. So I wonder if the secret police will come to me and say they don't have anything. Do you want me to go after someone else? And then I'll start investigating the justice. Because I'm suspicious of their intentions now. They didn't want me to go through with the changes to the what's it called? I don't remember. What do you call it? Because we don't have have one actually. Oh yeah, the Constitution. The deal was I won't put forward the Constitution reform, and they give me this information. Now they're saying, oh, you owe me more, so I might have to crush them somehow. But we will do that next time. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you next time where we will continue. Thank you very much. Take care.